The thing that has Luke captured at the beginning is a wampa. That's not what he sleeps in. I can't think of what it's called.
Oh,
though.
the tartar, the tauntaun.
Tauntaun, yep.
Tartar.
I think that's a sauce for fish,
bro.
if I know correctly.
The tartar.
This one's going to be off the rails, boys.
Welcome back, everyone, to S1E1, the show where each week we pick a different sitcom, watch just the first televised episode, and forgetting anything we might know about the future run of that show, rate it and decide if it's a show we want to greenlight or cancel. This week we're going to be talking about Merry Happy Whatever. Merry Happy Whatever went one season with only 8 episodes on Netflix. Today we're talking about episode 1, which was called Welcome, Matt, originally airing November 28th, 2019. So to get things started, I'm Jay Gags. With me as always, the boys, all the boys, Gordo, Ferg, Joe, and Nick. What's going on, guys?
The only show worse than Jay's immune system.
Yeah.
Usually I have a quote, but I just to quote my notes, every third line just has me written down, fuck. Which is just what I kept writing. Like, there's like another sibling, fuck. Like, that's
For
like
real.
oh
my god, how many fucking characters do you need on a TV show?
There's like 50 members
Yeah.
of this cast. It is unfucking wieldy.
I wrote down a couple alternate names for this show. It could have been called Christmas Comfort. Also,
Yeah, it's also about a dead mom. What the fuck, Netflix?
Meet the Parents, the new class.
This is thank you. I wrote that down. I was like, this is legitimately just like a Bobo Meet the Parents. It's so fucking stupid.
Yeah.
I was actually expecting at one point for them to be like, that's Mama's guitar.
I'm going to go on record before we destroy this episode to just go on record in case he listens to the first 2 minutes of it. I fucking love Dennis Quaid.
Not
Great
after
Balls
this,
of Fire
fuck you.
is one of my favorite movies of all time.
Nope,
this
fuck you.
was the worst fucking shit ever, though. This is so fucking bad.
Hey, at least he gave us Inner Space.
I do.
It's-
Well, you gotta love Inner Space.
And just in case he only listens to the first few minutes, I'll wait and I won't make fun of him until later.
Is this a sequel to one of his most famous movies? But this one is The Wrong Stuff? Because, oh boy.
For the record, everyone, this is a Jay Gags pick. So, Jay, why did you pick this show?
Ferg, this is a you pick,
Not
actually.
a me
So your
pick.
streak is in danger, Ferg.
It is not a me pick.
This was not a me pick. This is our Christmas episode. So Merry Christmas, everyone. Holiday episode, whatever you guys celebrate. We are all Christmas celebrating individuals. So this is a Christmas related show and there's not a lot of them.
I was.
So last year we did The Simpsons thinking that was our only option. And then, this one came about. Netflix created this, sitcom about Christmas, which, I was going to bring it up later, but this is the only way you can do a show that's centered around such a small amount of time, right? Where you put out like the Netflix style where the whole season comes out at once for binging purposes.
Yeah. Yeah, that.
Because you can't do like a weekly show about Christmas.
You don't call it Merry Happy Whatever. You call it Holiday, Holiday, Holiday. And then every season is around a different holiday. Because unless you're going to put out one season every year where you just catch up with these folks again at Christmas, this makes no sense. When I saw that the show was canceled and wasn't just a singular season, we wrote one season of a show, I was so confused because who wants to watch Merry Happy Whatever in fucking July? It does not work.
Technically, hasn't television always tried to make like Christmas in July happen?
Yeah, but it never works. Nobody cares.
No, but I think with this is you put the season out in late November like this one came out and people binge it because that's what people do now. So when the whole season comes out at once, you watch all 8 episodes or whatever. And then next year when season 2 comes out, you just drop that around Christmas again. So like under the Netflix format of like binging, like you can do a season once a year and it could theoretically work where they all meet again next Christmas but it's going to dry up quick.
Guys,
Yeah.
have we passed the single Netflix sitcom yet?
No.
Netflix
no,
original?
I
I
don't
don't think so.
I think
But
the
we only
Kevin
did a
James one was
few.
close, but it wasn't.
Yeah, we did The Crew, we did Country Comfort, and I don't remember if
Show
there was
Show?
another
Big
Show
Show.
Show. You're right, yeah. So
But-
no, this is
Trailer Park Boys? Does that
That's not.
No.
That was
That
just
was
U.S.
the-
distribution.
But wasn't that the line skirt?
it wasn't like they didn't have any hand in it. Like these are all made, like you can tell just watching these visually, like the way they're shot, the cameras. I'm pretty sure the same writing crew just goes from show to show. They're all made exactly the same.
That's another crazy thing. So aside from there being people in this like Dennis Quaid who are part of really good things, the creator of this show is like one of the people who wrote like 1 billion episodes, like the entire series of Everybody Loves Raymond.
Really?
He's currently writing Home Economics, which we love. I love rather. He's writing
Just say I've never seen it.
I haven't even heard of that,
I've
Joe.
never even heard of it.
It's the new show with Topher Grace. It's really good. Well, I'll cover it soon.
I've heard of it.
Hold on. I wrote Oh, he also did Superior Donuts. This is like a writer for Superior Donuts. Everything else this person has done, I'm like, these are all great. Was he fucking drunk? I don't know what's going on here.
It must be the Netflix touch, like something that they do to it.
No, I mean, he got paid to write a show called Merry Happy Whatever.
Oh, and Parks and Rec. He also wrote some of the best episodes of Parks and Rec.
It's Netflix. It's Netflix's fault. They don't fucking care. They just don't care. Yeah. It's just about the initial upfront money grab, and they do not care about it. They have figured out a formula that allows them to put low effort, low cost shit out that somehow makes them money, and then they don't care about it. That's all it is.
Making money right now. I think they're losing subscriptions like rapidly.
Well, that's why we're paying more money.
Which begs the question: why aren't you trying a little harder? Because this is fucking awful. Like, it's so bad.
Yeah,
they canceled Glow while they were filming the season. Like in the middle of the season, they were just like, "Fuck it." That they put a whole season of this horseshit out. Fuck off, Netflix.
Yeah, I mean
and people watch Glow.
Yeah, people cared about that.
But look at the budgets. I bet the budgets are drastically different.
Oh,
and
yeah.
It's
this
like
didn't just take place in 2 sets. Well, I guess 3 if you count the bar.
Yeah, and it's on a soundstage.
The whole time I was watching this.
So I actually took the liberty of writing a little intro for the show for them. So here you go. Well, ladies and gentlemen, grab a cup of eggnog and sit back, because if you want a wholesome Netflix sitcom that tackles such fun holiday issues as loss of a parent or spouse, divorce, atheism, and jokes about coming out of the closet all twisted into one shitty tasting candy cane, this show is for you.
Yeah, it's almost like they tried to do like the modern touch of like, these are all things that are like whatever, but we'll make it at Christmas time, and it doesn't work. You know what works? All that stuff work? Christmas with the Cranks, a classic movie. Why did we just watch Christmas with the Cranks?
That being said, with Tim Allen, did you guys know Disney Plus came out with a Santa Claus TV show?
Yeah, we're all caught up with it, actually.
Yeah, I'm pretty much caught up with it right now. I can't figure out how to explain the show without saying it's not good, it's not bad. Like, it's just...
Yeah, I'm with you.
I think you just did.
It just is. It's worth a watch, but if you didn't see it, you wouldn't be missing much either. It's weird, yeah.
Apparently that you can't make a job anymore in Hollywood of people who make fake beards, because Tim Allen just has a CGI beard anytime he's Santa, and that drives me fucking wild. That's a weird thing about it. Like, it's a little too digital, but also like, Tim Allen, what were you doing? Grow your beard starting in January and commit to the goddamn role.
Yeah. Well,
Disney has the same problem as Netflix right now. There's no quality control.
Well, guys, I don't think we can skirt around it much longer. I think it's time to talk about this show.
We can't go in depth on this one. We really just gotta hit some high points, right? Like, this is so... Also, fuck you, Netflix. This show was 28 minutes long.
I know.
6 minutes longer than your average sitcom. You know how much harder it is to take notes for a show this bad that is a third longer than most of the shows you cover?
Netflix, look at what you've done to us. Look at what you've done to all of us. We have just been screeching like howler monkeys for 13 minutes now.
Actually, speak for yourself. I like this show.
You would, because it's your pick.
It's not my pick.
So, all right, well,
danger.
Yeah, pick a lane there for long.
Let's get into it, guys. Let's get into the actual episode. So, because we have to do it eventually. So, we start with the Emily and Matt, and they're outside at the airport, and
pretending they're cold in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
No,
it really looks like Philadelphia, guys. They did a great job set dressing.
Yeah. So it's like, so we hear her say,
you were being facetious.
Oh, it's so cold. It's like 1,000 needles poking at you. It finally feels like Christmas. And Matt says, I can't believe you grew up like this. Is this Philly or the ice planet Hoth? Get a nice Star Wars reference. Yeah.
Okay, so when they walk out of the airport in Cool Runnings, I believe they're cold. When they walk out of the airport here, you're like, I fucking hate these people.
It looks beautiful out, yeah.
Yeah.
Also, isn't this how Big Show started? Didn't it start with him at the airport
It
picking
did,
up his daughter?
They love airports.
Fuck me, Netflix.
No, it started in the car, didn't it? When he was going there?
It starts in the plane. She's talking
Oh, that's
to
right.
the person.
Yeah,
that
old
they
lady,
get picked up, yeah.
How did Country Comfort start?
A dead mama.
Their mama's funeral.
Yeah, it was just a storm, I think, and the girl walked in.
Weirdly dark.
Oh, and I, you know what? Before we even go any further, I got to remind you guys, go to S1E1pod.com. That's where you can find all the links to where you can listen to us, all our social medias. S1E1pod, Twitter, Instagram. Go there, give us a follow. And this way we can warn you that we're doing shows like this ahead of time. If you follow our Instagram, you would have known we were covering this before we actually do the episode. So you would have known better, and you wouldn't have gotten surprised last minute to see we're covering Harry, Happy, whatever. But yeah, Emily tells Matt to cool it with the Star Wars talk until, you know, her dad gets to know him a little bit at first. And this is when we're figuring out this is the first time that Emily's bringing Matt to meet her family for Christmas time.
Then that Star Wars reference, is that I know you guys all know a lot more about Star Wars than I do. Is that a, like, everybody got it right away reference, or is that like a...
Yes.
Okay.
The
Yeah,
ice planet
Hoth is the
Hoth is
ice
like...
planet.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the ice planet.
It's where the big battle of, with all the, you know, AT-ATs and ATSTs and tow cables.
It's also
and all that.
where Luke killed a wampum and slept inside of him.
You guys could have probably just stopped at ice planet. I don't think the other details are going to help Joe out.
Is wampum the right word?
No, he's wrong.
is.
He killed
Wampa's
a
a
wampa.
Wampa. Okay, sorry.
No, the thing
Isn't
that,
wampum like a Native American term?
It's you got wampum points at Foxwoods.
the thing that has Luke captured at the beginning is a wampa. That's not what he sleeps in. I can't think of what it's called.
Oh,
though.
the tartar, the tauntaun. Tauntaun.
Tauntaun, yep.
Tartar.
I think
That's a sauce for fish,
if I
bro.
know correctly.
The tartar.
This one's going to be off the rails, boys.
So
You gotta brush your teeth, Gordo. A little too much tartar. Sorry.
I still got Tana, but that shit is under control.
So Emily says, you know, my dad said he'd be here at 8:45, and it's 8:40, and then you see the sheriff car pull up 5. And this is when we meet Dawn for the first time, played by Dennis Quaid, who seemingly, for this role, forgot how to act.
Yo, what happened?
Like,
He's like slurring drunk at some points, it feels
he's like a
too.
good actor. I don't know what's going on this whole thing.
He was drunk. I really do.
I think he was too.
I think he was just actually Randy Quaid jumped into his body and like time switched for a month, and he's like, "Let's film this show." And then
Hello,
jumped back out
boys.
again.
I'm back.
For this whole episode, it was like, and I don't know about the rest of the series, but the whole time it was like Dennis Quaid for this character decided he just wanted to pretend to be Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that makes all the Star Wars references make sense.
Now, did you guys enjoy the shot of Dennis Quaid getting out of the cop car, and he looked up, and the way that like the camera shot at him like made it look like one of those beauty, like, you know,
Like a hair flip?
yeah,
I
like a
didn't- I
hair
didn't-
flip, like he comes out and he does
Like I didn't
the-
hear like Dreamweaver or anything like that.
I don't know. that
To give
just
you a
struck
quick
me.
answer, no, because I did not enjoy anything about this show, so it wouldn't even be one shot.
But yeah, so when he does get out of the car, he, you know, gives his daughter a hug, and then he shakes Matt's hand. He's meeting him for the first time. And he asks him about the flight. Matt says, well, you know, red eyes are tough, always hard to get that much sleep. And Don shoots back with, I can sleep anywhere. I trained my body to sleep through airstrikes when I led a platoon in Desert Storm. So right away, like, again, this was like the first kind of like, this seems very Meet the Parents to me, but because he's very Jack-like.
It's like the writer had to turn in a script the night before, but put it off and fell asleep watching Meet the Parents. Like,
Yeah.
Also, this is no offense to anybody who served in Desert Storm, but Desert Storm was like a historically short war. So
He
it
was
seems
also
like an
40 in Desert Storm.
Right, like it just seems like a weird thing though to be like, oh, this 2-week invasion, like I taught myself. It's like it wasn't like if you made this show take place in 1985 or whatever, and you were like in Vietnam, you'd be like, oh, this is like a multi-year war. Like it seems weird to be like, I trained myself during this very
100
short
days.
period of time.
100-day
Well,
war.
You know what the thing is? Well, the easy way out, instead of saying Desert Storm, just say overseas. Just say overseas, leave it vague.
Speaking of Desert Storm, I have trading cards from
I've
Desert
seen those.
Storms.
Yeah,
I used to get them a lot when I was a kid.
I think they're like Topps cards.
Yep, they're all unopened. I have them.
Open them up and enjoy them. I'll tell you right now, they're worthless in the pack too. So like,
put them in your tactical fanny pack.
Here's my Desert Storm trading cards.
Record an opening video. Those are popular now.
They are.
Maybe you'll get a signed Storm and Norman Schwarzkopf. I think those are going for a lot of money on eBay.
I got a Sergeant Slaughter.
No.
Two shows that we need to put both of those shows on the list.
Group
you know, I'd hate to add tangents to the tangents, but can you guys sleep on flights? I can't under any circumstance.
I can.
I could sleep on a flight, but I can't sleep in a car.
I've taken red eyes and I can't fall asleep.
I fall asleep on red eyes, but usually that's also like pills and booze.
I can sleep by the very definition of sleep. Yes, I fell asleep, but I'm not sleeping for 4 hours. You know what I mean? I'm sleeping for probably 20 minutes, waking up, maybe falling back asleep. Like, it's an uncomfortable sleep the whole time.
I think I told you guys about this once. The first time I ever flew a red eye back home from California. Second time I was ever on a plane. I couldn't fall asleep. I took a bunch of Xanax. I had a few drinks. I finally fall asleep with the TV on, just like being in bed, right? It was comfortable. And I woke up and I had watched like Discovery Channel or something. There's terrestrial TV on the back of the TV. You could like change the channels. And the TV show that was on was the TV show Why Planes Crash. I woke up at like 4 a.m. somewhere in the flyover states with Why Planes Crash out of my headphones and was like, why would you play this on an airplane? How fucking terrifying is that?
You know, Joe, your story actually has a good pivot back into the episode because Matt says that he usually takes half an Ambien and drinks red wine when he flies to go to sleep. And that's when you get the
pussy.
And then John's like, oh, mixing drugs and alcohol. Interesting. So
yeah, they set him up immediately to be like a boring narc cop.
Yeah, well, it's again, it's just it's very Meet the Parents, you know, like that. It's just like it's very tough to not draw the comparison.
They paint him as like conservative without going over the top, at least.
Yeah.
Like,
well, I mean, even to the point though, they were like, he doesn't drink, he doesn't.
Yeah.
Like his vice is sugar, I think, sort of. He likes sweets.
Yeah, and there's a couple like little references later. The Merry Christmas versus Happy Holidays. He tells us how to vote. Blah blah blah. But
yeah, he's like a right wing kind of conservative.
Yeah, I talk about where weed's legal and stuff like that. The states get mentioned, you know. But yeah, so from there we have the three, or in the the squad car, or they head into the back of the squad car to put all their stuff away. And Don takes note of Matt's guitar that he brought, and he asks about the band and if they've had any gigs lately. And Matt says like they've had a few, but like they're still paying their dues. And I was wondering if you guys picked up on this a certain way. When he said we're paying our dues, he looked over at Emily, and I couldn't tell if that meant that she's in the band as well or no.
I got that vibe, and then later on they're like, Dad, I have a finance job in California. And I was like, I assumed they were in a band. Yeah,
like the way he said it and delivered it, I thought she was part of the band with him. But
I thought
it never
that
really
too.
came to play later.
I didn't get that. I thought that he was looking at like her for approval, like if that's what he should have said or if he should have lied.
Well, I'm glad we're all so split that it was not clear one way or the other. So I guess we won't know.
Great writing.
Yeah.
Also, if you're going to make an impression, so this is the first time he meets his family. First of all, you took a guitar on a flight. That's a pain in the ass. You have to drag this thing around, right? And then your goal is to, when you're at this family you've never met for their house for 10 full days, you're going to play guitar and sing for them. Nobody requested this. And also, I'm somebody who plays guitar, and I play guitar every single day. Like, I feel weird if I don't play for at least 10 minutes. If I was going on a family vacation for 10 days, I wouldn't even think about bringing my guitar. Like, it wouldn't even cross my mind.
Do you think maybe, to justify it, like, the idea would be to have it with him just when he's in his room alone, just to pass time? Or do you think it's with the intent to perform?
Weird.
No, he's just really corny, and I just have this feeling he thinks in his head he's going to sing to the family.
I would say for sure. We're going to talk about it later, but there is a point where the guitar comes back out, and it does lend itself to the idea that he wants to perform for people.
Yeah, it's really aggravating. They should have just made him a drummer with like 2 sticks hanging out of the back of his pocket, like a Detroit Rock City style. Then you'd know he was a musician. You'd never have to hear him play.
He could have brought the whole drum set with him on the plane.
It's
I dropped my snare.
the close of this opening scene, by the way, is they're at the when they get to the back seat of the car, and Matt says he feels like a perp, and like he's going to get in the car, and Don grabs the top of his head and like shoves him in like he would as if he actually was.
Did anybody else see the? I know it's a couple seconds away, but did anybody else see the hit the brakes, smash into the glass thing coming from a mile away?
Yeah,
I was there's no way they don't do this.
Yeah. Right before that, just to get into it, we have like the intro to the show, which was very brief, just kind of the title of the show. And it was like a single graphic with like layered, looks like different layers of wrapping paper.
And like
I guess
Sleigh
it's
Bells
fine.
playing.
Yeah. And again, I just, to go back to the whole concept of this show, I just feel like you could have just taken, like, this whole season's about Christmas, but you could have easily taken that out of the name of the show so you could get away from it season to season. This whole season could be about Christmas, and Christmas can never come up in following seasons.
They doomed themselves, because the next season could be them on vacation in Mexico or something in the middle of the summer, right?
Or just living life.
Yeah, like, or just, going to work. They moved to Philly maybe, or they come to visit them in California. Instead, now it's forever a Christmas show, which just dooms it to be canceled after one season.
They knew what they were putting out.
Yeah, just call it Meet the Quinns.
This feels like, when you see the commercial sometimes for shows that are on like the Lifetime Christmas movies, or like the ABC 25 Days of Christmas, whatever. And it's the most like, it's not really a Christmas movie, but there's one scene where there's a Santa, so they make it that way so that they'll play it during those marathons. This sort of feels like intentional like that, where they were like, we'll get the big Christmas market. It's like, yeah, but that's 11 months out of the year. Nobody wants that.
Oh, like Die Hard.
Not a Christmas movie.
Die Hard 2, though, decidedly a Christmas movie.
I thought that was going to actually spawn more debate. It was pretty silent. I was like ready for it.
I know. I was trying to be controversial.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a Christmas movie, but that's just me.
Because it's not.
There's a difference between a Christmas movie and a movie that takes place at Christmas. Those can be mutually exclusive.
And this
it's a great movie.
Yeah,
it's better than this.
Like recently, like outside of like in one of the group chats. But Bruce Willis himself said it's not. And I'm going to go by that.
You're on stage. I think that was at a award
one of the
show?
roasts. I think it was a roast.
Oh, it was a roast? Okay. I've only
We'll put
seen
it this
clip.
way. You're bored, you're tired, you're hungover, you're whatever. You're flipping through the channels. It is August 17th. Die Hard comes on. You watch it. If A Christmas Carol comes on, you change the channel. Like that's the ultimate.
What if it's a Muppet Christmas Carol, Joe?
I love Muppet Christmas Carol, but I'm still not watching it.
I think your first part of the sentence, though, Joe, solidifies it. If you're sitting around in August, Die Hard would come on. A Christmas Carol wouldn't.
Yeah.
Right.
You know
Yeah,
what
they
I mean?
wouldn't just
So-
play it. Although Netflix, speaking of Netflix, they do love pitching Christmas movies at you in the most random times of the year. Like it'll be the middle of the summer and they'll be like, do you want to watch this? You're like, what? Who is watching this right now? Just take it off the platform until November.
Every time we have to cover a show like this, I get so concerned about my algorithm that I wish I just created an extra profile so I could watch the random shit we have to do for this show sometimes.
I'm not worried about it because I don't watch Netflix that often. Just whatever you guys make me watch.
I mean, to be fair, I used to watch Netflix a lot more, but now they only make shows like this. So I'm like, why the fuck do I even still have Netflix at this point?
Yeah, everything
mine
good
a long
left.
time ago.
I can't think. I mean, they lost The Office. They're putting out shit like this. I'm trying to think of. I mean, no, they do have some pretty decent true crime documentaries, and that's probably what keeps me around.
Squid Game was good.
My thing was, and I think we may have talked about this before, but my thing with like Netflix was, in its early days when it was DVD only, the beauty of Netflix was it was like going to a video store, everything was there. Now I can't just log into Netflix and be like, oh, I want to watch Billy Madison. There's no guarantee that's going to be there. It's actually most likely not going to be there.
Because of Netflix, now Netflix is terrible. Netflix created so much competition that now everybody pulled their stuff out to have exclusive rights. That streaming services are just a pain in the ass because you search through fucking 30 of them looking for the thing you want to watch, and then you end up either renting it or just watching something else.
That's why I pirate. Arr.
I'm not smart enough to know how to do that, and even if I could, I don't think I could make it play in my TV, so I'm the guy who's like, I'll rent it on iTunes for $4.99 because
I'm going to say, Joe, actually, you more than anybody I know, like, will buy episodes of television and movies digitally.
Yeah, if I want to watch something, I mean, I prefer to own a physical copy of anything, but there are certain things where you're like, oh, okay, well, if this only exists to watch here, or like TV shows is a big one. I don't like owning TV shows on DVD because it's such a pain in the ass to constantly flip the discs over. So like if it's like I was watching Miami Vice recently, and there's like 79 discs in that Miami Vice box set, and I like gave up around season 3, where I was like, I can't keep getting up in the middle of the night and flipping the discs over if I haven't fallen asleep yet. That's the kind of thing that'd be perfect to buy on digital, because then it just ticks over, right?
So now the next scene is all three of them that are in the cop car. And it's that like classic front shot, like almost a perspective looking into the like front windshield. And we have Dom and his daughter up in the front and Matt's in the back. He says, I feel like a bad boy back here. Ah, dang it, I left my mittens on the plane. I can't quite grasp if you're supposed to like or hate Matt throughout this whole episode.
So I do think of the 63 characters on this show, he's definitely not my least favorite. I think he did a pretty decent job with what he was given as far as the writing goes. Having said that, I mean, it was still, I mean, you can only do so much with shit if you've been given shit.
Well, there's so many forgettable people though, because there are so many people, and there was a point where I was like, oh, those two are married? And I was like, oh wait, they're not. They just hang out.
The in-laws
like,
were a couple.
Yeah, it's very confusing. And they go out of their way to give that one guy, I think Adam Rose might be his name, which I laughed at because of the rest of Adam Rose. But he's like, you know, a darker haired dude with a beard and doesn't look like anybody else. And I was like, why didn't they just cast more wildly looking, like differently looking people? Then you'd have an idea of who they all were.
Is he
The daughters just all blended together.
Is he the Instagram guy?
No, he's the one with the beard.
The Instagram guy.
What do you mean glasses? The Instagram guy?
There's one guy who's
Are you talking about the male in-law?
Yes. The male in-law is like an Instagram actor that just sits in a robe on like a green screen and looks at like stupid headlines like mummy found and unearthed.
In real life or in this show? Because I missed that if it's in the show.
No, in real life. IRL.
Okay.
He also looks like BJ Novak and Andy Dick had a kid together. Like,
he looks like a ton of different people.
Yeah.
But he's Instagram
But also, I'm at a
famous.
point now where I might not even be knowing who we're talking about because everybody blends together and there's too many people. So I'm like, I don't know who you mean anymore. I lost it.
Don asks Emily if she remembers his buddy Ted Bozeman and tells us that he ran into him at church last Sunday and he wanted to chat with her about a job opportunity where he works in Philly. And that's when Matt's like, wait, you mean like move back here? And Nick, you mentioned that was like he breaks hard and then you got like Matt shoves up against the window. Very predictable. I think as soon as you see him in the back seat and you know the glass is there, you know what's going to happen.
We got robbed too because I looked ahead to see who Ted Bozeman was going to be on the show in the cast. And it's Dan Castellaneta from The Simpsons. So we could have gotten Hans Moleman in this episode, but instead we get everybody else that we get.
I guess they're just going to have to watch episode 2, Joe.
I mean, I'll probably just go watch The Simpsons. Seasons 1 through 11.
She tells him, like, you know, she already has a finance job in LA and she's living with the guy that she loves. When you check back to see how Matt's doing, he just goes, bulletproof glass is hard.
Nick, I don't want to break free, but Nick sent a message to all of us and he was like, this is how far I've gotten into the show and I'm so mad about how much I hate it. Yeah. Was that the bulletproof glass part? I'm trying to figure how close in you were.
No, they hadn't even gotten in the car yet.
Okay.
Mine was about 8 minutes in when I was like, oh, what the fuck?
Can we
I
also
knew
discuss
as soon as it started.
Can we discuss the atrocious laugh track for this show?
Yeah,
it's a bad laugh track.
Yeah. So, I mean, I didn't need one either. Not because nothing was funny, but it just didn't, it would have been fine without it.
You know what I think a lot of these shows do, these Netflix shows, is they overdo it with the laugh tracks, and then it makes it more obvious that they're there. So
that it's not actually funny.
Yeah, if you're going to shoot like wild laughter out at a very small joke that would have gotten that kind of laugh in real life, like it's what points it out and makes it more obvious to the viewer.
And the Ranch was notorious for this, which is another Netflix show. Like the first episode, it's like every 2 seconds is like one of those crazy laughter. They look at the camera and shit. It's like, I'm sure we'll cover that eventually too, but like real bad.
I like The Ranch.
Of course you do. But
The Ranch was a real sitcom and it had like, you know, a regular amount of people in it to understand what was happening. And nobody said Eggy in The Ranch, I'm pretty sure.
I know you're a huge Masterson fan, but you can't say that.
Oh, come on, dude. You can't say that. He's a curly-headed fuck, and I'm not a fan of him.
So Dom says, forget that I mentioned it, but, just keep this in the back of your head. And this will come back later in the episode. So then the next scene, we're arriving to the front of their house. And the three are all walking towards the front door. Matt takes note of all the Christmas lights that are out, that haven't been hung up yet. And Don tells him that they put the lights up today and take them down New Year's Day, that it was Emmy's mom's rule that, 10 days and that's it, that this isn't Las Vegas. So we kind of learn a couple things here. It's first, Dom is a widow and that Emily and her siblings' mother is no longer with us. And second, this family is insane. The amount of work that it takes to do Christmas decorations, indoor or outdoor, but the strict 10-day rule, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
And that he's doing full up and down the roof lights. No way. By himself. He plans on doing it by himself no matter what. No help.
Ferg, you go all out for Christmas and Halloween with outdoor decorations. Could you bear the thought of then taking them all down a week and a half later?
No, I need at least a full month to justify my hard work.
And the bill.
Even with my indoor stuff, it's such a process to bring everything up, from my basement. We have a lot of stuff that we bring into my living room that to me, it's this isn't just Christmas decorations. This is kind of winter decorations. As long as they go away, as spring's coming, that's fine by me. Listen, my tree's fake. I don't know where you all sit on that debate. And I guess this is the proper episode to talk about it, but everything can kind of sit there for a little while. It's not a big deal.
I'm a real tree person, so the tree's got to go before January 1st. It just can't. They just don't last that long if you get them early in December.
Who here has a real one?
Joe.
How much did you pay for yours?
I want to say it was $65.
Okay, because I just got one
You should have just went and cut one from your backyard.
$120 here at Ace Hardware for a fucking Christmas tree.
That is wildly
Yeah.
expensive.
Is it big?
Everywhere I've seen up here is
it's a 7-footer. It's nice, but I don't know. I got to start a Christmas tree farm, I think, because if I get $120 for one.
Guys, you spend a little extra money, you get a solid fakie, and it lasts you for 20
a little
years.
extra money. Have you seen the prices on these solid fakies that you're talking about? Because they're $700.
Yeah, but they last you a really long time. So
They're
you
fucking
have that
better.
for you.
The
I
idea
got
of going
mine
out
from
and getting the
Michael's
tree,
for,
though, to me, and bringing it
$200.
home and then putting it up is all part of the Christmas spirit. I like going to get the real tree. Getting covered in sap, not being able to get it straight.
Yeah, the mess, the stress. Yeah,
Your
that
house
sounds
smelling
great.
I
forever.
like that
Everything's
smell of
sticky.
these, though. If you're going to have a smell in your house, pine tree is not the worst you have.
You can buy that.
The worst
the same,
is
Dad.
when you get rid of it, because we had a fake tree growing up, but when you get rid of the tree and you vacuum up all the pine needles, your vacuum will smell like that, but burnt for at least a half a year. And it's terrible.
You get that in the summertime.
Another compelling argument. Yes.
Yeah, I don't get it.
To me, it's part of Christmas, but I get it. They're sticky, they're expensive, they're dangerous, but I love them.
Fuck them.
Why are they dangerous?
Well,
No,
they're
'cause they
dangerous
get
if you
touched-
don't keep them fully watered.
My dad's apartment in Brooklyn burnt down completely because of a Christmas tree. There was a train set around it and it kicked up a spark and the house was gone. And so I had fake trees growing up my whole life because he was like,
That would
nope,
make you do it,
not
yeah.
gonna fucking happen.
Yeah, actually, in our lease, it's explicitly stated that we can't have a live Christmas tree.
Can you do
For
that
that
one?
reason alone.
You should tell your landlord, I killed it though. It's dead.
Yeah, live is no longer, it's not growing out of
Drove
the
a
floor.
spike through it.
It's not a werewolf.
You don't know that.
Shoot it in the head just to make sure.
I don't know. I just pictured Gordon with a shotgun in his living room.
Get down!
The tree just mauls them, though.
Mark Maron killed by Christmas tree.
Then we'll get the check mark for it.
Why does all of the check marks that we get on Twitter include something either happening to me or
Or you doing something?
me doing something?
I just think we have to
mean-
face the reality. And let's
You
most likely-
suggest half the shit. It's not like we're doing it all.
The lifetime of precedent. That's why.
That's a good point.
Touche.
We find out with this family, as per tradition, everyone's going to be coming over the house tonight for the lighting. And Emily says tradition's Dom's favorite thing, right up there with Law and Order, the show and the thing. Dom says, our house lighting, tree trimming, caroling, midnight mass, Christmas brunch, Christmas dinner, a sensible New Year's celebration. The world might change. The Quinns never will. And he walks inside. And Emily closes by telling Matt, remember when you asked why I moved across the country? So yeah, tradition. You get a very good vibe for who he is, at least just with these little things here.
I feel like it's never a good idea to mention another TV show in your TV show because you might just make people want to turn off. Like I was like, oh, I should turn this off and watch SVU right now. That would have been far more enjoyable. And we were like, what? We've been recording so long. We haven't even gone inside their house yet. This show is a fucking nightmare.
It kind of rolls quick. I know we're very tangenty right now, and we're a little loose, but I think as we get going, we're going to be steamrolling through a lot of it. There's not a lot of substance in these scenes. So
the thing is, I don't know if it's corny on purpose or not.
It's not. Well, I don't know why you think it's meta. You brought this up to us privately before, but
I feel like
there's no way.
You're like the dude who thinks it's a work, but it's not.
Yeah.
It's not.
Jay?
Yeah, Jay never thinks it's a fucking. He always thinks it's a work. I don't know, man. CM Punk might be a long work.
Nick, enough with wrestling, dude. Get it? Stop. But no, this one, they did not create this whole show based on like a wink wink. It would be even more over the top. And I don't think they're over the top here. I just think it's super corny.
It's one of those things too. I feel like if you have to ask that question, you know the answer, and it's not.
Shows like this, like Netflix style show, like if it was supposed to be so corny deliberately and like bad that like it was funny, I guarantee you would have gotten one look to camera in the episode, and there was no look to camera.
Yeah, there would have been some wall breaking.
But we do
Instead,
eventually
there's plenty of
get
ball
inside.
breaking by us having to watch this fucking garbage.
Hey, yo.
So we get inside the house finally, and Matt tells Emily, before he gets the tour of the house, which he does want, he just wants to get a quick nap in, so he can be like on his A game before he meets the rest of the family, which is obviously cut off.
That.
Well, no, it makes sense. And that's cut off by the sound of an excited yell, and then enters Emily's sister Patsy and her husband Todd. And she says, the prodigal sister returns, give me some hugs, come here. And how would you describe Patsy? She's very like
super fucking annoying.
What do you call those uncanny valley people? Like she just doesn't look real. Like
she's very like she gives off like this throwback mom vibe, like a 50s
like
sitcom
Stepford
Wives.
Stepford Wives. Yeah, that's it.
Uncanny Valley Stepford Wives.
I don't know. She just doesn't seem real.
And the best way you can describe that was by using words that weren't real.
Yeah, she seems like medicated is I guess the best way I could put it.
Like Mother's Little Helper type of pills.
Very throwback. I mean, the theme with her the whole episode is she's trying to like replace the role of their mother, but she's very throwback mom, like, Leave It to Beaver style momish at times. In that very fake like world. Just kind of didn't. Even when a show that was as corny as this, I felt like she didn't fit in at times because of it.
Well, yeah, because it doesn't seem like anybody, because you've never met anybody like that. That's what makes it hard, right? Like in a sitcom, even if you make somebody an exaggerated character, most people know somebody who they can relate to these people. And that's why a lot of these sitcoms work. You're like, oh, that's kind of like a crazier version of Greg at The Office or whatever. Nobody I've ever met is anything like this woman.
Right.
The thing is, with her character, no one else is written like that. So it's like, I feel like this show, each writer was given a different character to write.
I'd be fine with it if there was a backstory where she was like, oh, my sister Patsy, well, when she was 7 and she got kicked in the head by the horse, everything got a little weird. You'd be like, oh, okay, she's playing a character now. But instead, they just leave it like, I need a backstory for this woman.
Like little Sandy Sue, she got kicked and her eyes went straight.
Yes.
So Patsy says, who's hungry? I'm making eggies like Mom used to make. Not as good, obviously, but, not bad if I say so myself.
I'm sorry,
and
what
I
the
do.
fuck is an eggie? I kept waiting for them to explain.
I don't know. Like, I was going to ask you guys, is like eggie an inside family thing, or is that a real thing?
I think it's a special way that the mom made them, and she called them eggies to the little kids as they were kids. So now they make them this one, whatever way, which apparently is very salty, we find out.
Yeah.
As a chef, I have never heard of anybody referring to that as eggies. There is no dish that I am aware of.
It definitely sounds like something you make for the kids, because like
Yes.
you would talk to your kids that way.
In both the book and the movie, I want to say the book too, but in A Clockwork Orange, they call eggs eggy-wegs, because it's that weird language they sort of speak in A Clockwork Orange. But I don't think they're referencing a movie like that.
After the
or
family
that
all
book
got, yeah,
in
I don't
this,
think the Quinns were all watching Clockwork Orange together, no.
I don't think somebody was murdered with a giant ceramic penis right before the eggy-wegs were made, but...
Actually, hey, maybe that's how they get the in-laws. They hold their eyes open and program them.
I think it would have.
That's how I had to watch this
episode.
show,
Yeah.
essentially.
This was I know I have to watch it. The next scene, we're in the kitchen now. Dom is sitting at the table with Emily and Matt and tells them about how, like, last night they arrested this mall Santa. He lost a toe breaking into Victoria's Secret. And he's talking about Nancy, the nurse at the hospital. Now she said somebody just made his own naughty list. He goes, she's a hoot. And,
You know it's not a hoot? That joke.
well, you know what's funny was the next thing was, that's when Matt says, well, there'll be coal in his lace stocking, huh? And he gets like a deadpan silent response. And I thought that wasn't a bad follow-up joke.
That's a decent joke. To be
if
fair,
you
that's one of
just
the few
heard-
jokes.
Now you think if you just heard this story in real time and that's like your immediate reply, that's like a pretty quick, sharp joke.
But it's already been spoiled by like 7.5 minutes of me having to watch this show. So
I wish he said it was in his silk stocking, and then instead of this, we got to turn it off and just watch a better show, like Silk Stockings, which I'd much rather be watching than this.
No, you wouldn't.
Yeah.
Hey, I watched the whole first season of Silk Stockings, and it was better
As an
than
adult,
this. Yeah, I got the DVD box set when I worked at that place. It came in for free one day. I gave it to the Goodwill. Oh, shit. Remember when I gave all those DVDs away and they were like, we don't want the porn? And I was like, what porn are you talking about? They probably saw the Silk Stockings box set and thought that that was a porno.
you had a whole box set of porn.
Boner
like
Jam
seven
98.
discs.
Fuck, can we review Boner Jam 98 instead of this?
You can.
There's got to be a Silk Stockings porn parody, right?
Yeah, called Silk Stockings.
Yeah, like you just
I
have
mean,
to call it Silk Stockings.
I don't think it's a porn. It wasn't popular enough to like.
Oh, they made a
People-
parody of everything in the 90s.
We
now.
only know what it is because it was on after wrestling.
Same thing
It's
with La
not,
Femme
it's
Nikita.
not popular enough for it to have a porn parody.
Yeah.
But what if it was only gauged towards wrestling fans?
A fictional porn wrestling would have to be before it, and then it would end and go into that for me to have seen it.
They did make that movie where China kind of goes through all the people dressed as different wrestlers. And then she does the video after she won her award, and she's holding her like a golden dildo or whatever, and she's like, see Vince, you can't keep me down. Which is like the greatest moment of just like, oh boy, in the world. So she did good. China was doing fine.
Hey, she was an Avenger, okay? You leave her alone.
So then through the door we hear, look who's here from Hollyweird, and enters Emily's brother Sean and his wife Joy and their 3 kids. So Emily jokes to Matt that there's gonna be like a test on the names later. I think it was Emily or Patsy who said it to him. And Joy walks up and says that her name's Easy. You look at me, what do you see? Joy. And then then yells at her son, Donnie, stop playing with the knives. And Sean says to Matt,
Scene deleted. Okay, no, I'm not going to say anything else. I'm just going to say there was something that happened in this scene that was way too real life, and I got a real chuckle out of it that was not this television show's doing.
good enough. So Sean says to Matt, LA boy, you a Rams fan? He goes, I don't really like football. And then he gets like dirty looks all around. He goes, I love it. You know, Super Bowls, touchdowns, just all of it. Tom Brady. I mean, he's one of them. I thought that was funny the way
I
he
didn't hate
delivered
that.
that.
Yeah.
What I thought didn't make sense here, though, like just being analytical of the show again, though, is like in walks another couple, right? So you're adding 2 people and their 3 kids. Was maybe 3 a bit aggressive with the size of this cast already? It could have been with their 1 kid.
Yeah.
Like this room is
Or
filling
none.
up with too many people already.
Yeah, so I don't know how they format episode to episode after. Like, I don't know if they kind of branch away a little or if you're like bombarded by the whole family at once at all times. But yeah, like the youngest is a baby. Like, you don't need the baby. And the middle child doesn't talk in this episode either. So like they didn't really need to have 3 kids, but
Yeah, they could have 1 kid and she could be pregnant. And then if you do a second season, you want to add more kids, sure, go for it. And then it gives her something to talk about. But adding another 3 kids to this, another 3 just humans into this cast is too many people.
well, in this scene, it's overwhelming because we're getting everyone in just like one kitchen at once. Matt asks Emily which way the bathroom is, and everyone just like stares at him, and he goes, it's pee.
I thought this was funny, actually.
That was funny too.
Like that.
That was an okay line.
And he leaves, and everyone's staring at Dom now. And Dom's like, he seems nice, like, because obviously, like, his approval with the Quinns is very important. If Dad isn't okay with something, it's kind of a no-go. But he does add, is he weren't staying in California for, with all the earthquakes and the fires and the Californians. After that, we hear from outside of the kitchen, like arguing, which we later find out is Alan and Kayla. And then they enter the kitchen, and they're the last of, Kayla's the last of the siblings to show up. And they're arguing about the Christmas card that just got mailed out. And Kayla walks up to Emily and says, "Oh, sorry, we're late. Someone only started caring about the Christmas cards after I mailed them out this morning." Alan goes, "Gosh, who could someone be? How do we crack that code?" I really liked Alan.
I giggled at that.
Yeah.
He's in that show, The McCarthy's, Jay, that you wanted to cover eventually.
That's why I know that show exists. Cause I was trying to do a follow-up of him because we don't get much of Alan. Alan's gone pretty soon after we meet him because after Patsy asked Kayla and Alan, "You want an Eggie?" Alan goes, "I want a divorce." And
I will say the most realistic part of this show, though, is this dude's character, where like he's around this constantly and just boils over and
he's
has
at
to
a
give
breaking
up. Like,
point. Yeah.
I believe it.
And
I think it would have been better for the show to just have them be that one couple that just fights the entire time and makes everyone feel awkward.
they could have used maybe a little bit of that to make it a little more like, because the family, the Quinns are so unrealistic in a way that like maybe you needed something to ground it.
I imagine there's an episode where it's Christmas morning and they're opening gifts. I imagine he opens a gift, he looks up at her and then says, "I want a divorce," is a funnier way to write him off, but then you still get 4 or 5 episodes where they get to fight and you have something a little different going on.
Yeah. Yeah.
The "I want a divorce" should have come maybe episode 3 or 4.
It was just so sudden. And like he says, I'm sorry. I know this is not the best way to go about this, but there's not really a good time. And she's like, "When you die, that's when you leave, till death do us part." And then Dom's like standing behind her. He's like, "Death, Alan, not Christmas." Like, it was funny, but not for the reason it was supposed to be, but it was very funny.
And then though, I'm in a sort of a good mood here too. And then he unclips his gun, and then I'm like, okay, so this is starting to get a little more fun here. But they like start going on being a sort of edgy, dark comedy for a second. And you start rolling with it. Yeah, and then they pull right back out again, like divorce, death joke, unclips his gun holster, and then we never get that type of comedy again. The whole episode. Well,
and during this whole thing, Matt re-enters the room from the bathroom. He's like, "Hey, let me guess, Kayla and Alan." It's like, "I think I'm ready for that name test now." And like Emily whispers to him, he goes,
funny too. That's
"Oh,
good timing."
Alan's saying, we fight every day. We haven't had sex in a year. And Kayla's like, "I can't believe you're talking about this in front of the entire family." And he's like, "And that guy." And he's like, everything's in front of this family. Everything like is either in front of them or because of them. And as Alan continues, is like, "When you get that gun thing." And Don tells him like, "If you want to leave, then go, like now." And he starts to walk out the back door. And like right before he goes through the door, he stops and he turns and, it was mentioned earlier with the Eggies. He goes, "By the way, your mom's Eggies, always too salty." And I'm like, okay, listen.
You just divorced this girl in front of everybody and then insulted their dead mother.
The dead mom.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, wasn't that a little too much? Like, okay, I get being frustrated. I get you want out. But do you have to like make fun of their dead mother, like on the way out the door?
No, it was just making fun of her cooking. I support the nuke.
Not the time. Not the
Nope,
time.
My assumption was he was just scrambling for something to say on the way out.
I'll also say, like, to go back,
That
I want a
joke was
divorce
kind of
thing.
over easy.
I
I was walking on eggshells around you, Gordo.
No more egg puns.
Hard boiled.
Oh.
Can you guys all calm down with the yolks?
All right, Jay. Enough.
Everything we just did was funnier than everything we just reviewed.
All right, well,
Jay,
I want
stop
to
being
say
a Eggs Benedict, all right, and just keep this.
you should have stopped at the first
And then
one.
you ruined it.
What I like is
Did we not see that end, though? We all knew where the end for that was going.
No,
right?
that's the best part. There was no end. Gordo had a beginning to the joke, and it trailed off without the sentence finishing because he had nothing left to say.
I had faith in him, but it has egg on my face.
He said, Jay, don't be an Eggs Benedict, or it just stopped talking.
Were you going for a Benedict Arnold traitor joke?
Yes, I was.
Is that where the direction was going? Okay, I see where you were going at least.
I want to go back to the divorce thing. I know they're trying to just establish the whole character of Kayla being on her own now, and that's going to be a big plot thing throughout the season, I assume. And by the way, Kayla played by like Ashley Tisdale, one of the more famous people on this show. I just thought that whole I want a divorce right in front of the family as soon as they walk in, not in the car, like not the next day. It just didn't make sense, but like I get it.
But how good would it have been if that was just his character? Like, every time something come up, he's like, kill me, or I want a divorce, and they just ignore him.
Yeah, like I liked
like, the whole time, like.
I liked his character. Like, I thought he would be good for the show, and like Joe mentioned, I brought up to you guys earlier that show, the McCarthys, because I was looking him up. I'm like, oh, well, what else has this guy done? Because I thought he was funny in like the very limited role he had on the show. So, I mean, I will say, don't be surprised if you see us covering that in the future, because I'd like to see more of this dude. But,
Yeah, I'm pro seeing him do something else. I mean, again, we wrote a few scenes that we thought would be better for this already. Maybe Netflix will give them a second season, or we can do a reboot for them.
Maybe
That's not gonna
Netflix
happen.
should just be paying us a consultant fee.
we just shit on everything they do. They don't
Good,
want it to be
somebody
better.
has to. Somebody can't be a yes man to Mr. Netflix. I don't even know who's the CEO of Netflix, but fuck you.
Greg Netflix.
Yeah, it's
Greg
Netflix.
Greg
Yeah,
Everybody is a Greg.
We're not sycophants.
The thing with these shows, and we've talked about it, is they don't care. It's not that we have better insight than any other test group would have had. They don't test them. They make the concept, they create the entire season, and they release it. So there's no feedback. There's
no pilots
Yeah.
in the world of Netflix. They just go straight to series.
No, but somebody in the writer's room wasn't like, you mean to tell me someone was like, this right here.
There's no incentive. It's just like, just make it. Just make it, get your check, and get out.
You know that's got to be the case because the guy who created it, who's in the writer's room, wrote a lot of really great stuff and is still writing good TV as we speak. Like, there's new episodes of his show on the air every week that are very funny. So this is a weird outlier that makes me feel like either he was like a huge Dennis Quaid fan and just wanted to work with him, so he took on the project, or he just needed a new house. Like, that's got to be what this was.
I bet Netflix has like their hands in it a lot, and they have a lot of opinions as to what they want in the show, and like a certain beats that they have to hit. Like, we want this, and this. It has to look like this. It has to sound like this. This is what we want. Make it. And then they just do their job, and it is what it is.
What's weird is that Netflix isn't like a Lifetime or a Disney or one of these channels that has to keep things sort of really PG. Like, they'll make really outrageous stuff, really dark stuff, really violent stuff. They'll even make dark, violent Christmas stuff or holiday stuff, right? So it's just that they have this weird lane that must do really well with certain people. Again, the shows don't get picked up for second seasons, but like, I would be really interested to see how many streams did this and Country Comfort and Big Show get initially, right? Like, to make it worth it, because they keep making shows very similar to this that follow in a very similar path. It might even be like a European or a different country market thing where they're able to sell these shows on the bigger actor.
Well, they're also in charge of their own like control, so it's tough because you can mess up your own research in that you create a show like this and you put it on everybody's home screen for weeks on end, like right up front. So everyone sees it right away, where a lot of good content that exists on Netflix gets like buried and never really promoted on it. And you have to like go look for it. Like, there's a lot of like comedian specials that I know are on Netflix I have to go find when they come out. They don't put them right on the home screen. So when they make their own thing, they're so proud of it. They're like, here you go. Everybody watch Country Comfort. And then everyone clicks on it. So like they go, oh, look how many people watched it. And it doesn't mean they liked it. Just they clicked on it.
I think too, though, that goes to what I was just saying about how weird it is that they're so diversified, because you could go into your Netflix home screen, it's like dung dung or whatever, and you pop in and it's like I'm home for Christmas, Dad. And you're like, I don't want to watch that. And you scroll down to the next Netflix original. And it's like, the bed was full of nipples. And you're like, holy shit. Because everything just starts playing. And like that, those are their two lanes, it seems, right? It's like super hardcore true crime documentaries that are like 9 episodes long, or shows like this. And you get both as like streaming new this month right next to each other, which is fucking crazy.
It's also one of those, like, when we talk about the writers and, like, why are they creating this? They've done better things. It's kind of like with a tattoo artist, right? You can go to the best tattoo artist, but if you give them a picture and say, I want this, they're like, okay, like, I can give you that. Like, I can do better, but this is specifically what you want. This is what I'm going to give you.
I think that's a great thing. Yeah. Cause like, even if you have a like, I feel like everybody here goes to a tattoo artist and they specialize in things and whatever, but sometimes you just want something like even words. Right, like you're going to like a really great artist and being like, can you draw this thing on me and type? And they're like, I guess, yeah, like I'm proficient, I can do that, but like it's not what I do.
Yeah. And I feel like there's probably a big element of that happens here. So after Alan leaves, Kayla's like, no wonder why I didn't want the cards to go out. Happy holidays from Kayla and Alan. It was a lie. And Don's originally, like, his first response is, you put happy holidays, not Merry Christmas? And the family's all heading to the living room. And they're trying to console Kayla, and she, like, grabs a photo of her mom and apologizes to her, like, imagine a Quinn getting divorced. And, like, I don't know if it's maybe my distorted view of family, but, like, when I see, like, this ultra togetherness, like, the group hugs and everything like that, it just doesn't feel, like, real to me, because, like, that's just not my experience in family, but I don't know if that's just my perspective. Like, I don't know.
And that's why I think it's satire.
But I think there are some families that are super, super close, like...
Yeah, I guess. I mean,
close, like, get along and are very, like, I talk to my family all the time, right? Like, I'm very close with them, but we don't group hug or anything. You know what I mean? Like,
maybe
it's fine to go a long time without seeing them, but we still talk. Like, I'd say we're close. You know what I mean? Like, I can't think of anybody we know or grew up with who had, like, a crazy, touchy-feely household like that.
Yeah. But, like, for, like, Full House is, like that with their family, but it's not satire.
Yeah, but I feel like this is parodying like a Full House or another like sitcom style.
See, I don't think it's parodying. I think it's
parody.
taking notes from and not executing it the same way.
But the problem is, instead of doing it like Full House that was good, they do it like Fuller House, which was bad.
I love Fuller House. You stop.
Wasn't that also a Netflix special?
It is.
Was Netflix too.
That was a Netflix original, technically. So.
With Fuller House, you're letting your nostalgia bone get too tickled.
No,
it's fun to see everybody together playing those characters. It wasn't good, though.
And we'll cover those because I feel like it has the advantage of a slightly different name, so we can cover that as a different thing after we do Full House.
And also, like, Aunt Becky's in prison. Candace Cameron Bure is, like, a religious psycho. Like, we all know about Alanis Morissette. Like, everybody in this is, in that show, just most of them turned out to be, like, everybody but John Stamos and Bob Saget turned out to be fucking total weirdos.
R.I.P.
Don't try to say Bob Saget wasn't a fucking total weirdo.
I don't think he was a weirdo.
Like his comedy.
He was pretty normal.
I don't think he was a very good comedian. I just think he was a normal person.
Oh man, Danny Tanner was a normal person. Bob Saget was nothing like that.
No, I mean, you had to be somewhat fucked up to come up with the
jokes. He sucked dick for coke.
Okay. Well, to be fair, Bob Saget also directed one of the greatest movies of all time, Dirty Work.
Dirty Work, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, meanwhile, during this whole scene, Matt notices the two other remaining, like, in-laws. Well, you're jumping the gun by many a minute at this point.
Can I? Can we?
No. And so he kind of like sneaks out to leave and join them outside. And when he gets out there, he sees them dumping a carton of eggnog onto the lawn. And as we find out, they were like pouring one out in remembrance of Alan, which at first they denied.
I thought they were a couple. Like I know they were introduced earlier as like
it's confusing
things, but at this point, I'm still like confused meeting all these characters. I thought they were a couple.
Yeah, like
and
I
then
guess
they're drinking at a bar. Like it looks like they're on a date later on.
Well, no, that's all explained here, though. It's just I think when you look
appearances, though,
how quickly everything's happening in the beginning, like it's just you got bombarded with all those characters, so it's tough to like get your head around it. And they didn't even really want to admit that that's what they were doing at first because they're trying to like isolate themselves as like the in-laws, like officially. But Matt announces to them that he's planning to propose to Emily like while they're there for the week. And so that's kind of when they start letting him in because it looks like he's going to be sticking around.
Oh, he's going to be sticking around, all right.
What?
Just didn't want to sell anything.
So then you get the, like, we need to tell him. And it's like, no, we can't trust him. He needs to know. And he's like, obviously I can hear you, because they're sidebarring from like a foot away.
I like that too.
And they were both good, I thought. And they tell him that
again, they have good chemistry with each other. They actually
do.
probably should be a couple.
well, no, it makes sense, because like the way they talk about it, it's what they say here. Because they say, like, Emily's great and you should get married, just do it far away from here. And because they're saying, like, how, like, the Quinns are all great individually. But when they're together, they're a lot. And they're, like, a G-rated cult, as they call them. Everything has to be the Quinn way. So, but when they're separated, I'm sure, like, when Todd is alone with his wife, or Joy's away with her husband, like, they're not, they act a little more normal, like, because, like, what they said here, like, the Quinns, they all do what Dawn says, and it's like how to spend your money, how to vote, where to vacation, what kind of soda to drink. And they say,
Pepsi.
Like, Pepsi.
I thought Ferg.
Matt replied later by saying, like, hey, listen, like, that's not who Emily is. She drinks alcohol. She drinks Coca-Cola. She doesn't fall into this. And like, we'll wait until, she's here with them for an extended amount of time. But, yeah, Ferg, I know you're a Pepsi guy. I don't know if we ever talked about it before, Pepsi versus Coke. I grew up in a Coca-Cola household.
Times, actually. Yeah.
I think we
I
have.
honestly think it just derives from whatever your parents bought when you were little.
It has to be. It's definitely like a nurture thing. Like you just nature nurture. Like where does your drink taste fall into that?
I always say I like them both because I think both are good for different things. Like I used to love Pepsi and Goldfish and Coke and Cheez-Its.
I just like Coke.
That doesn't make sense to me.
No, Coke is better. Period.
Pepsi's
I mean,
better.
again, that's opinion though. You can't make a definitive statement on an opinion. But I think it's just soda. There's good. I mean, there's bad
Coke's better.
cola flavors out there.
But like to
I
go
also
back
really
to
like RC.
Ugh.
No, I never liked it. I mean, I'd buy
Royal
it.
Crown
Cheap.
soda.
You can buy 12 packs of it now at the Dollar General in New Hampshire, so I'm stocked up.
It had like a weird sweetness to it, if I remember, that I didn't like.
It's a little sweet.
But to go back to what Ferg said, like, you guys always get on me for liking Moxie, but it's the same thing. I grew up in a house where my dad drank Moxie, my grandfather drank Moxie, so it was always in my house. So at an early age, like, that was soda. That's what soda tasted like, because that was what, was in the fridge when I opened it. So,
Everywhere up here.
I legitimately like it, but I'm so used to it. Oh yeah, you live in Moxie country now.
Yeah, you like can't turn around without finding like bottles of Moxie everywhere.
Because I want to say Lisbon, Maine is where it
I
originated.
think so, yeah.
Yeah. And this is here where they also talk about, like, them as the in-laws, like, they've always had kind of like a secret meeting place, which is a bar called Otto's, and that's where they talk stuff out. Like, you see them at the bar later, and Alan was part of that crew, which is why they, poured one out for him, because now they're down one. Matt could potentially be joining the crew, so I guess that's why they're opening up to him now that he, lets them know their intent.
But he's still going to be living in L.A.
Right, he can't ever get that close because he's still going to live 2,000 miles away from Philadelphia.
But that's the
Dad
thing.
gets
It's
his
like,
way.
yeah, the dad could, that could be the end all be all. Like, it could end up that she wants to live with the rest of her family again, and he has to make that sacrifice to live nearby.
Now, they're all this super close family. Like, what was the blow off that made her snap and move across the country? Like, I'd be more interested in that, which finally drove her away.
She was at somebody's house one day and was like, "Oh, do you have any Pepsi?" And like, "No, we have Coke." And she was like, "Oh my god,
My God.
I feel like, I mean, it could have been anything because they don't touch on it at all during this episode, but like maybe school.
No, super serious answer. Probably the mother. The mother was probably like, honey, go fly your wings and you can go out to California. And now that she's dead, the dad's like, nope, you must stay here.
Or also, Philadelphia is a big city, but she has a finance degree and works at a big finance job. There's probably way more options for well-paying finance jobs in Los Angeles than Philadelphia.
I just think with the established closeness of the family, she wouldn't have left without some kind of a major event.
Yeah, her mom died.
So maybe Gordo's right about it being something to do with the mother, but I think if it was the mother, it wouldn't have been just her that left. All the kids would have left.
No, I think maybe she was probably the most free-spirited, but
She was the only one who wasn't married. So
yep, she's the only one that wasn't
she wasn't
married.
tied down.
She wanted to go find herself a cool musician out in Los Angeles.
And the mother was probably like, I wanted to do that, but you probably don't touch on that until like episode 5.
And we never even really established how long she's been gone for either, right?
The mother, 3 years.
No, Emily.
Oh, no, we don't.
Yeah, I don't think you find out how long.
I feel
she's
like
been
they
gone.
did say it at one point. I can't remember.
I mean, she's been
No.
gone long enough to fall in love in a relationship where the guy's ready to propose.
Considering this is a Christmas movie,
Could be
may
3
not have
days.
taken that
Yeah.
long.
They could have
Okay.
met at the like department store like 2 hours earlier.
They grabbed the same like Christmas ball. Like, oh,
Can't see the
And
line,
the-
can you, Russ?
And then she grabbed another Christmas ball.
oh.
So yeah, the next scene, Matt and Emily are in Emily's old childhood room. And that's, I guess, where they're planning to stay for the next 10 days.
And it is littered with No Doubt posters.
As it makes sense, you know?
Right, but 4? Like, if you're like, No Doubt's my favorite band, I've got a poster. Like, but 4 No Doubt posters? It seemed excessive to me.
Joe, she's
I mean,
just
I
a
liked-
girl.
We talked about like the posters we grew up in our room, and I think in a past episode, but I like to diversify. Like, I wouldn't want too much of the same thing, but I guess everybody's different.
I mean, I only had one Limp Bizkit poster.
And that's Limp Bizkit.
Didn't you? You had that Baywatch poster too.
I did. I had Pamela Anderson at the end of my bed watching
Do you see
me.
the rebooting Baywatch now?
There's no way it'll be good.
But not Baywatch Nights, the good Baywatch. Where Hasselhoff's like the nighttime detective.
Is Hasselhoff on the new show?
Oh, I don't know. I hope not. Because, like, that just gets weird, you know? Like, how long are you going to have him be on there?
I feel like they could easily get him and he'd do it.
Oh, I'm sure he'll do it. I mean, he'll probably do one of those things where he's, like, in the first episode or something. You know what I mean?
In any event, they're in the room, and they get into like a little bit of dialogue, just kind of reflecting on their stay so far, and it results in a little bit of kissing. And while that's happening, Kayla shows up, and she goes, "Oh, look, the lovebirds." And, you know, they ask her how she's feeling. She says, sad, angry, confused, a little hungry. And Matt says, well, how about a little food for the soul? And he takes his guitar out. And that's when, like, he asks if there's any requests. And she goes, yeah, how about Not Now by You? And
That I did enjoy.
And yes, and there are, I looked it up. There's a couple of songs called Not Now. Blink-182 has one, although I'm not familiar with it. Young Boy. Joe, I'm sure you're more familiar with that one.
What is a young boy?
You're a big fan of the rap.
Oh, right.
And then, but the only other one, technically not exactly the same, but a song I actually really, really like, No Not Now by Hot Hot Heat. Phenomenal song. But, I digress.
Is it on Elevator?
The first track on Elevator, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
At this point, though, when he pulls out the guitar and he says that, again, it was like, I don't know if I'm supposed to like this guy.
That's Mama's guitar.
Well, that's
You're
the
not
difference
supposed to like
between,
anybody who tries to solve a situation by pulling out a guitar. It's an immediately unlikable trait.
Because, like, obviously I know they weren't purposely, or maybe they were without saying it. But, you know, right off the bat, I said this is a lot like Meet the Parents. In the actual Meet the Parents, you feel for Ben Stiller's character the whole time, right? Because he's like, you can sympathize for him, you kind of relate to him, and you go along that way. But, like, with Matt, I'm not like, he's not somebody I'm rooting for necessarily the whole time, because he's kind of annoying throughout the episode.
Too many characters.
I think one of the big things that makes him more relatable and more, I mean, there's a lot of things, but one of the things I really enjoyed about Meet the Parents is there's that weird subplot that he's trying to quit smoking so that he's also on edge more than he normally would be the whole time, which also causes like issues, right? Like sneaks on the roof to go smoke and like lights a fire or whatever. I feel like this guy is just trying, like, he would be more aggravated. Like, you need something like that. Like, Meet the Parents works because you already have this, he's like predisposed to being fucking like crazy from being in the middle of quitting smoking.
There's just not like, there's not enough like layers to the character here.
He's just a fucking dumb dick dildo who pulls a guitar out for no reason, which is so fucking annoying.
During this conversation, because this was the room that Emily and Kayla shared together, she offers to Kayla, like, hey, why don't you stay in here with me tonight and we'll just have Matt stay in the spare room. And this kind of just results in like a quick joke where it's intended for Matt to leave immediately. He's like, oh, right now? And like had to go. That was like, oh, whatever. And now the next scene, we have Sean and Joy, and they're in the kitchen with their oldest son, Sean Jr., who walks in and wants to talk to them. And he sits down and he starts to talk. And see, like this, I thought was like a really weird scene. So he sits down.
No sense at all.
Yeah.
This made me lose my mind. There's a gay panic scene. This is from like 2021.
Yeah.
What is happening?
So that's and I wrote that after too because I felt the same way. Because he says to them like, I know you've been wondering why I've been all like quiet lately, and I've been trying to figure out how to tell you I have these feelings in me. I tried talking myself out of it, feeling this way, but you know, it's who I am. I wanted you to know that I'm an atheist. And it's like, oh, well, we love you no matter what. Like, you have Sean who's just like panic sweating the entire time, like so afraid that his son's going to come out.
So uncomfortable and so not what you expected.
It just didn't seem like right for this time. It just didn't feel like it made sense in like a show that was 20 years older, but it didn't work here.
It makes sense with that family, though.
I see. Where
I
Bert's
guess
going.
a little bit. Like I could like if with Dawn, I guess.
Poppy Dawn.
But with the answer being what it was, and like the dad being so relieved, but with the atheism, like for Dawn, that's not any better. So for that reason, it really is just the focus is on the gay thing, and it just seemed, I don't know, really weird approach.
I was looking up that character's show, other stuff because for a second I thought he was the guy from She's Out of My League, the one that dates Marnie, but it's not him. But when I was looking him up, I saw he's on a show called Mr. Mom. But
is it a remake of the Michael
Hulk
Keaton
Hogan?
film?
That's Michael Keaton. It's Hulk Hogan, like Mr. Nanny.
Oh,
but I wish it was Michael Keaton movie.
I was gonna say, did anybody else think that it was weird that outside of the obvious gay panic, but like the drinking of the water?
I didn't.
He was just like it was booze.
The second drink
nervous
of the water was weird. Like he was still chugging water, like he was nervous after he found out it wasn't that he was gay.
He was like trying to collecting them. Yeah, he was trying to collect
I don't know.
himself.
It was stupid.
It was just uncomfortable. I also like
weird.
too, like the weird ABC Family aspect of this we talked about earlier too, where it's like he doesn't believe in God. Yeah. This is a really big deal. It's not a fucking big deal. It's not a plot point.
Well, that's what I wonder is how much does this come to play in future episodes?
Well, clearly by the
I
end
imagine
of
he turns around and believes in God by the end.
I'll never know.
Touche.
Something's going to happen to him that like turns him at some point.
Well,
I'll let you know.
I was going to say that at the end of the episode, we realized that we've only been there for 12 hours.
We didn't realize. I knew. It's pretty obvious it's only been less than a day. Wink.
I'm so confused right now. Gordon, are you trying to tell us a secret?
Did you know something we don't know?
Are you hitting on me?
Are you hitting on Ferg?
Is there something in your eye?
Wait, are you trying to tell us that you're
an atheist?
I am. Sorry, guys. I didn't know the appropriate time to tell you.
I didn't even finish my eggies yet.
I gotta get some water.
But the next scene, we have the three daughters in the kitchen. And it's a very, very fast scene. Patsy made cookies and used Mom's old cookie cutters. So when she presents the cookies to the daughters, she goes, "Oh, these remind me of Mom," and like runs off. Kayla, I forgot her name for a second. And but she was still wanted the cookies. It was one of those like, oh, I found Mom's old cookie cutters. Like it was like this special thing, but they're the most generic cookie shapes. So it's
I was
like
expecting something more extravagant. But that's
well,
what I think this whole family is like.
No, I get it. It was just one of those,
Jesus.
like, I guess, like, because it's the holidays and if she makes the cookies the same exact way as their mom, it'll remind her of her. But just, like, you're a few days away from Christmas. There's so many tree-shaped cookies everywhere. Like, I don't think that's the thing that would, like, string up those types of memories, but.
No. I mean, if she had a cookie cutter of Big E cheese, like, that would be.
What? What is that?
Big E cheese.
Excited to see where this one goes.
What? No. What is Big E cheese?
He's a rat.
Right,
what?
Slower?
He's a
He cracked himself up.
He's a rapping rat on the movie Barnyard.
Big E cheese.
Big E cheese, and he sings like a Shaggy rip-off song like it wasn't me. I will send you the clip.
I won't watch it.
What made you think of that when we were talking about cookies?
It's a cookie cutter because Ferg said cheese. So it got me thinking about Big E cheese.
When did I mention cheese?
I was going to say the same thing. I don't remember that either.
I could have sworn you said cheese.
I did not say a word about cheese. I said trees. Is that what you heard?
Trees. Okay. Well, I don't. So I'm wearing the over-the-cup thing, so I don't have my hearing aids on, and I missed the distinction between trees and cheese.
Well,
sorry, guys.
right
You
along.
guys are making fun of me because of my disability.
Yes.
It's not good.
As long as we're clear.
We are, but I want you to know it has nothing to do with hearing.
Big E trees.
Anyways, so now we get to a scene where Dawn and Matt are outside, and Dawn's getting like all the decorations ready to hang, and it's noted that the angel that goes on the roof is to represent his wife, who's looking down on all of them. And I'm mentioning this because it comes into play later on. And he gives Matt a little bit of a rundown about like everything else that's going to be going on later that day. One of those things being that they all have hot cider. And Matt's like desperately trying to get acceptance from Dawn. So he's like, oh, I love hot cider. People always come up to me like, hey, hot chocolate rules. I'm like, get away, dude. No way. I'm a cider guy. Hot cider for me, thanks. He's like, there's going to be hot chocolate too. He's like, that's also good. I will say,
made hot cider before?
I prefer hot cider over hot chocolate as well.
I like cold cider. I don't like hot cider.
I love cold cider over hot cider.
Same.
But I
Me
like
too.
hot cider over hot chocolate.
But sometimes making especially like a really boozy hot cider on the stove and like
There's never a
Cold fall
time that
days.
I want hot apple juice.
Yeah, I don't like cider at all.
apple juice and cider are two very different things. I will say, as somebody who loves hard cider, there's a thin line though. If you have a cider that tastes anywhere near juice territory, I can't drink it. It has to be like bitter and dry.
No, like the filtered ones. Like I want a cloudy, like if it's an alcoholic cider, it needs to be like apple cider that you get in like a milk jug that's like cloudy that you can't see through.
If I ever
I
go
like
to
some of the
a
unfiltered ones too. I just can't have one that tastes like too sweet, like juice. Like I don't like Angry Orchard, for example, tastes to me like you're drinking sugar.
If I ever go out to get drinks with Jay's brother, all he does is drink ciders, and he'll put down 6-7 of those things, and I'm like, how are you not?
Heartburn
how is
City.
How are your pants not just full of shit already? Like cider,
You got to keep it to like
just
2 ciders and switch to something else.
nuclear bomb to your stomach, and I don't know how anybody. Like,
For
it's
me,
not like a
like
lactose
alcoholic-
thing. Like, some people are lactose, some people aren't. You eat enough fucking apples, you're gonna shit yourself. Doesn't matter who you are. And
You got to be careful. You can't drink a 12-pack of cider.
Yeah. Ugh.
But I think you take the alcohol element out of it, because I do think that like no alcoholic cider is even touches like a real authentic like jug of apple cider.
What was the cider you guys used to drink in your like Harvard Square punk days?
Woodchuck.
Woodchuck,
Was
which
it-
now I can't drink because it's so sweet.
Yeah,
I tried the
I
green
remember
apple one
trying
again
it
recently.
like
Oof.
back then, and I was just like, ew, why is everybody drinking this right now? It's so gross.
Yeah, they were
Cider's
these
a very
super
traditional
hard. They were
New
these
England-
super hard punks, and they were always drinking fucking out like cider and Mike's Hot Lemonade. Like
It's all
I
normal
can't even
lemonade. It's
imagine.
hard.
Did they still make Mike's Hard Lemonade?
Oh, for
Yes.
sure.
Yeah.
It's hard with
pretty
those things
popular.
now because like even as a cider drinker, right? Like I like to get like a 4-pack. Cider usually comes in like a 4-pack, like fancy beer does. So I like getting a cider 4-pack on the weekend and beer, right? Because you can have a couple or whatever, and then you have a few. You're not going to drink them all day. But it used to be like 2 years ago, you'd have like 25 ciders to choose from, and now all of that shelf space has been taken over by all of the Truly drinks. And I feel like I haven't even seen like Mike's Hard Lemonade or anything in a super long time because all you see now is hard seltzer.
that's a
They're
vast
there. They just
improvement.
they occupy less space on the shelves because less people buy them. But like the variety's still there. It exists.
I just remember getting crazy heartburn from Mike's Hard Lemonade when we were kids, right? Because you like get that because you're like, oh, it's easy to drink or whatever, but it's so fucking painful.
Yeah, those are a lot. It's like I can't drink like those twisted teas and stuff too. They're too sugary for me.
Yeah. Although Twisted Teas was a good like, I'm not drinking alcohol. Like we used to just go buy like one of those big jugs of like Snapple, like the 32 ounce, and just pour it all out, and then just fill it with like 2 Twisted Teas at a time, and just walk around. Same thing with Sparks. When nobody knew what Sparks was at the very beginning, you could just walk around like it was an energy drink. There was like a good 2 months there where nobody knew what the fuck it was, so no one.
Because it was really, it was before that big like the craft beer like boom.
Mm-hmm.
So like when people thought of beer cans, they thought of like one of 5 or 6 different things. So
Right.
anything like that was so different that it it wouldn't have flagged your attention.
Let alone something bright orange.
So, all this conversation is like building up to Don realizing that Matt wants to propose to, Emily, because Matt kind of starts with that conversation a little bit, and he's kind of quick to jump on it. And he goes, you're the first of my 3 daughters' suitors to have the guts to do this. And, I really appreciate that, which makes it that much harder to say no. And after the whole thing with Alan, he says, now I have to be a little bit more selective with who I'm going to let into this family. This cuts
like a
to
circle of trust.
Yes, much like a circle of trust. Yeah. So now that the in-laws are hearing the story for the first time, Todd goes, I didn't ask Don for his permission. And, I lost all his respect, but I avoided his wrath. And there is a lot to be said about that whole term. Like, it's better to ask for forgiveness than it is permission.
Yeah, there are certain times in life where I definitely go by that rule where like just say sorry later on is easier than getting turned down and then having to make a weirder decision.
Did you guys do the parental blessing thing? The 2 of you that are married?
I did, yeah. Kelsey's dad wasn't alive anymore at that point. He passed away while we were dating, but I did ask her mom because I thought it was like the right nice gesture,
Gordo, are your in-laws English speaking at all?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, so all right.
They're both English speaking. I met her mother before we married. And
problem is Gordo isn't.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's the problem. Is I'm not an English speaker. They definitely were confused when they met me, but no, I did not ask for permission.
So, is that I wonder if that's an American thing though? Would that be expected in other?
I don't know. He came up and started talking about a rapping rat.
No, I think it's an English thing.
Yeah.
And it just kind of migrated here to America.
Yeah, I think it's more of an old world European tradition that we sort of took on.
I don't know. They're talking to Matt about this, and Matt's really hell-bent on proposing on Christmas. He said it's the perfect time. And I don't know. I feel like that's too, I don't know. I guess everyone's story is different, right? But I don't think there's a perfect, I have to have it on Christmas. I
feel like you're taking away part of the day from the rest of your family at that point when you're making a big part of it just about you. I feel it's a little weird and kind of selfish.
I think that New Year's is a better day than Christmas. That's just me.
Now,
especially with this family.
Holiday.
I was going to ask, did either of you guys propose on a certain holiday or around a special event?
I did. It was Valentine's Day where I proposed.
No, I just did in the fall, which is our favorite time of year. So it was a time where we could go out and have a day outside,
And I think, Gordo, to yours, Valentine's Day is the holiday that gets the pass in that you're not taking away from everyone else's day, because Valentine's Day every year in perpetuity will still always be about the 2 of you. So every holiday, if you propose on Easter, or get married on Easter, every Easter from then on is not.
It's about that.
It's about that now. It's not about everything else.
Yeah, Valentine's Day is the safe day because everyone's oh, that's the love day. Although people who are single will probably hate you more for that, I imagine.
Yeah,
I think there's
that was my thought process, was that it's the safest holiday to do it on. But plus we were going away. We always go away around Valentine's Day, so it's special for us. So that's why I did it.
I always feel trips are tricky. Every time I'm on Instagram and I see friends that are on a trip overseas somewhere, and it's I'm waiting for the proposal picture to come up anytime now. I'm well, here they are. They're in Paris, right? I guess that's the next post is going to be the the handout with the ring on it.
I actually have a funny story about that. Before we went, I proposed on the Pennypacker Bridge in Austin, Texas. We could overlook the river. And before that, we went to the Texas State House, just to kind of look around inside. It's a pretty building.
It's pronounced Texas Roadhouse, Gordo, and it's a delicious restaurant. I'm glad you guys had lunch.
God damn it. So my wife goes forward first, and I look at the Texas Ranger, and I just kind of give him one of these, I have a problem. And he's what's the matter? And I go, I have to walk through a metal detector, and I have a ring. I'm going to propose to her. I don't want the thing to go off. She doesn't know I have it. And the guy, smooth as fuck, goes, I got you. I hand him the ring, and he goes the other side, and he moved it for me. So she wasn't the wiser. but I think he
pretty
thought
cool.
that I was going to propose inside of the Texas State House because all these people started coming out and watching.
You
us.
got it, cowboy. Anything for you, partner.
Pretty much. He had the big, cowboy hat and shit, and he was like, "You got it, my man. Congratulations." I'm like, well, she didn't say yes yet, bro, but appreciate it.
Thank
I
you,
like
Chuck
fast forwarding
Norris.
him to the congressional hearing where it's like, and how did you let the national ring bomber through into the Texas building again, sir? It's like, he tricked me. He tricked me.
Look at pictures of George W. Bush.
I'm a sucker for love.
So to move it along, the next scene, Don's on the roof putting up decorations, and Matt climbs up trying to offer his help and tells Don he wants to, show him that he's a vessel of dependability. And he goes, "Are you high, rock star? Because, I could still bust you for that. This isn't L.A. or Colorado or Maine or Alaska or, good Lord, take less time to tell you all the good states." And Emily and Kayla step out to see Matt on the ladder and, ask him what he's doing up there. And he says that he's trying to help Don out. And I found it funny because she then yells up, to her dad, "Hey, do you want help?" And you just hear him go off camera, "Sure don't." I don't know why that popped me, though.
Oh, he's not high, but he did just come from the bar, and he's on that ladder after drinking.
Yeah, I might have had a few drinks.
Yeah, that's not a good idea. You get after a few drinks, you get the idea that you can do anything, and climbing a ladder should not be one of them.
Yes. While she's trying to talk Matt into heading back down, Don now realizes how late it is. And now he actually does need the help. So, Matt gets to jump up with him. And when he actually gets up there,
I don't think it makes sense that he, even though realized the time, he'd take the help. I think the better writing would have been, "Oh, you're right, I need help. Hey, can you send, what's the son's name? His son.
Sean,
Can you send Sean out and just have him on the ladder?" Like, what? I just volunteered to help.
Or like the atheist kid.
anybody else in the family, anyone but him either. Because even if he asked for the other in-law, like Todd or something, that could have worked.
Right, not somebody he doesn't know, doesn't trust, and has been drinking. Maybe not who you want on the roof with you right now.
But yeah,
as it gets dark very quickly in this scene.
Yeah,
It does.
Well, he gets up there, and he's very nervous about the height, even though it's only another 1 foot higher than where he was already standing on the ladder. And Tom's like, "I got a bad feeling about this," and Matt's really excited. He's like, "Oh, that line gets repeated in a lot of Star Wars movies," and then he tries to further explain it, but Don could give a shit. It flashes forward to later in the night, and they're trying to line up the angel on the chimney. And Matt keeps trying to reset it because he doesn't think it looks quite straight enough. He says as an artist, it's one of those things that bothers him. But in the process, he puts it on the top of the chimney, which then causes it to catch fire. Once it's noted, he throws it down onto the roof and he starts stomping on it. And Don yells, "Don't stomp on her, that's my wife."
That's the line I laughed at the hardest in this entire episode for some reason.
And he dives on it, but by diving on it, it causes a staple to go into his head. Matt gets so freaked out that he falls off the roof, which you see from from the perspective of in the house, because they show all the sisters inside watching a movie, and you just see him falling, past the window. But yeah, the whole
Jesus in his underwear.
Yeah.
Making food.
But the that's my wife. It was that should be emotional, but it's not, because it was used in that setting.
Yeah, it's also you said Harrison Ford. That's very "get off my plane" or something,
Yeah.
right? It seems like an action movie line.
I did get a good laugh at the dummy falling off the thing.
Yeah.
It felt
So
very
did I.
much like they used to do that a lot in Married with Children. People would somehow fall off the roof in Married with Children all the time. Bob Rooney would fall off the roof or whatever. So that made me laugh just because I was like, oh, I remember that scene from that other show that was better than this when they did it funnier.
And from there we get to the hospital, and now Don's with that nurse that he was talking about at the beginning of the episode, and she's tending to the wound. And I'm like, you wouldn't get treated for this. A staple gun staple in the head is not enough to you could pull that out and
He's
put
a
a
police
Band-Aid
officer, veteran of war. He's just gonna pluck that staple out of his head and put a Band-Aid on it.
Put
It's
one on
like
the other
Christmas
side, even
Eve.
it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's okay, whatever. It gets them in there.
I think that they took what's his name, Matt?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, they take him
Matt
because he
to the
fell off the
hospital.
roof.
Also,
That
how
makes
is
more
Matt?
sense.
How is Matt not more fucked up? He fainted and fell off a roof. He's
And fell
fine.
sideways too.
roof.
The dummy falls like a board.
It was a little.
Yeah, you would have thought he would have like broken an arm or something. And they could have used that later on because he can't play guitar. He tries to play guitar, but he's got the arm brace on.
See, hire us, Netflix.
Yeah.
Or he breaks a middle finger, and it has to always fuck with the conservative father that he has his middle finger up.
See, but this show wouldn't do that because that would be weirdly that'd be too vulgar for them. But instead, they'll have somebody freak out over the thought that their son's going to be gay. Like, it can't pick a lane. It's so weird.
So, as she's, as the nurse, Nancy, right? As Nancy's tending to, Dawn's wound, she's telling him, like, you know, that he's definitely tougher than that 9-toed Santa that, you know, he told us about earlier in the episode. And he's like, well, that's a nice thing about getting shot early in your career. Like, any other pain is just kind of playing second at this point. And she's like, my son was 10 pounds at birth. Every pain since, I'm like, if it ain't a giant baby being yanked out of me, bring it. And then, Matt's in like the hospital bed that's like in the same room, but divided by the curtain. And he can hear them because he's in the same room. And you hear Dawn saying, this kid staples me in the head and he's the one who faints. It's like, I can't believe that this is the one my daughter brings home. So now he wants to defend himself and he runs up and he pulls the curtain back to like say something to Dawn. But when he does, Dawn's getting like a Novocaine shot or something in his head.
It's probably a tetanus shot.
We've talked about tetanus shots recently.
Well,
Joe got a tetanus shot to defend rabies.
You don't have to get
Yeah,
it
I
at
got
like
one.
the location. You just get it in your
Yeah,
arm.
you just get it in your arm still. You have to shoot it in your head.
Yeah. So, he opens the thing, and he sees the shot, and he's like, is that thing sticking in your brain? And like faints again. And like when he does that, he pulls back like the bigger curtain, revealing the whole family who's like watching from afar. Nancy goes, he's a bigger pain than a 10-pound baby. So now we get to the waiting room, which is where the rest of the family is. Kayla's talking to a fish who she's bonding with since they're both alone. And Sean gets nervous because he sees his son talking to his dad and starts to get like nervous that he might be telling him about how he's an atheist. Joy tells him maybe it's a good thing that someone in the house is like not tiptoeing around your father and that they, you know, maybe we should be proud of him. Sean says, you're crazier than Kayla, who's currently talking to a fish. To round it out, we get Patsy and Todd, who are also there. And when it cuts to them, she starts saying how she's tried everything to be there for Kayla and be like mom, but everything she does just makes everything worse. And maybe she's not cut out for being a mom. Todd tells her, you know, things have been taking longer than expected, but it's going to happen. And when it does, you're going to be a great mom. So like we got everybody there. All the kids are in this waiting room. We cut back to Kayla, who's been talking to this fish and now wants to steal it. And she's putting it in a Ziploc bag as she's like arms deep into the fish tank.
Hospitals have security guards, right? Like, I don't know why any of this would be allowed to go on.
Yeah, and it's like, it's one of those things, this show, at least in this episode, they're in Philly. Like, it feels like they're in like a small nowheresville.
Yeah, it feels like they're in like
Texas
Idaho or
town.
something, yeah.
Yeah,
I have
but
a
they're
feeling they're in
a big
Philly
place.
like we're in Boston, though. I think they live in the suburbs of Philly, and
Yeah.
it's easier to say.
You say
Philly.
the biggest nearest town, yeah.
Like West Philadelphia?
Born and raised.
Born and raised, yeah. But, yeah.
Judging by some of the conservative feelings of Papa Don, I don't think he would live in West Philadelphia.
Yeah, going back and recapping that, it was a lot of descriptive stuff at this point, but you know, there's a lot happening in this very little spot here because they're kind of giving us all the story points at once, like rapid fire, just within this waiting room scene. Sean Jr. heads over after talking to his grandfather. You know, Sean nervously asked, you know, what were you guys talking about in there? Sean Jr. says, like, you know, I was going to tell him, but I couldn't do it. When I asked him how he was doing, he said he knew he'd be fine because Grammy Margaret was up in heaven watching over all of us. And he's like, I just couldn't do it to the guy.
Cool.
And like, it makes you like the kid a little, right? Because you're like, the kid appreciates it. Also, like, yeah, that's not a conversation you need to be in. Like, also a little kind of a shithead move on the kid. Like, just go to church on Christmas, whether you believe in God or not. I got dragged to church plenty of times not believing in God for family stuff. That'd be like saying I'm not going to a funeral at a church because I don't believe in God. Like, you just suck it up, or a wedding. You just go and you can deal with it.
How old is this kid? Like
He's
10?
pretty young. I was going to say, like, so he might not
12
understand,
maybe?
like, the importance to the family at that point. And
He
in
doesn't
his
get
head,
he doesn't get a choice.
probably at that age, no. And it's like, because he's like, well, it's not a big deal if I don't go, right? And it's not a big deal, but I don't know, I guess it's complicated, right? Technically, it's not a big deal if he doesn't go. But if it means that much to your grandfather, then you tough it out and you go.
Right, you just do it. It's a family thing. You just go and you don't make waves.
Yeah, but you explain that to the kid. You don't just like, the mother's just like, I don't think you need to go. Oh, it's good.
Yeah, the mom could have just had an easy conversation.
She should have said, you can believe whatever you want. We accept you. But you have to go for your grandfather. End of story.
Right, and the kid would have been like, friction. Okay, makes sense.
So yeah, so now we cut to the inside where Matt's having a juice box in bed. And Don walks up to him and says, like, I see what you're trying to do. You're fighting for Emmy. I'm just trying to do the same thing. He's like, hey, so we have loving Emmy in common. That's something, right? And he's like, in that it makes us opponents? And Nancy walks in and tells Matt, like, you're clear to go, but Don, your heart rate's a little bit elevated. So you need to stay a little bit longer. And Don's like, well, there's worse things, because he's got to be around her a little bit, And they give like a flirty laugh and she walks off. And Matt's like, uh-oh, you like her. And he's like, who, Nancy? No, I like her as someone that I work with, but I don't like her. I mean, but even if I did, it's only been 3 years since my wife died. And, again, I don't like her. And why am I explaining myself to you? Get out of here.
Are they in fucking middle school though?
I think that was actually, to give this, show any credit for anything, I actually thought that was okay because he plays such a strict way, the entire episode, that him being nervous about liking a girl, I thought was actually a nice character break from him and gave him like a little bit of an extra layer there.
We brought up Full House earlier too, and this is a big plot point that happens a lot in Full House too, at like around this mark, right? When Danny starts dating again. It's like 3 years-ish, and it's like, I mean, it's done better there, but I don't know, that seems to be like, I don't know, a time frame people maybe wrestle with. As
the two are now walking into the waiting area where everybody's at, they're surprised to see that, like, they did a makeshift lighting in the hospital, and, Todd hands a hot cider to Dawn, and, Dawn tells everyone in the family, I bet Mom's looking down smiling right now. I know, like, it was, like, last minute, though, like, where Nancy says, I think I need to keep you here a little bit longer to check your heart rate, but couldn't they have all just did all the lights at home and surprised them with a lighting at home when he got back?
They could have.
I think it's the timing. Like, he does it at a certain time because of the tradition, and it has to be, like, the strict thing they talked about at the beginning.
It just felt like,
the hospital let them do this, but...
Yeah, that too.
Yeah, me
or
too.
where they got the lights, or cider. Like,
cider. There's a lot.
Where'd you get hot cider at a hospital?
And whose mugs did they steal?
Yeah.
They went into a break room and just took a bunch of fucking mugs?
They went home and got their lights, so they probably brought their own mugs.
You think they just microwaved all that free apple juice? There's always, like, free apple juice in hospitals.
Do you think the hospital just has lights lying around, Joe?
Well, I imagine they have them up because it's Christmas, and maybe they went and stole them from like the kid ward or something and make them. Yeah,
sometimes they decorate the desks and stuff, or like the reception desk might have like a couple strands of lights on it. Matt walks over to the in-laws and he's like, "You guys did all this for them?" It's like, well, this family could be a lot of pain in the butts, but there are pains in the butt. And then somehow, in like the next sentence, they still managed a way to say like pain in the butt like 3 more times. I don't know. They really thought that was funny. And then Emily shows up, and Matt and her are talking. And soon after Dawn walks up to the two of them while they're kissing, Emily notes that, her father and boyfriend have matching hospital bracelets. And Matt, still really trying to connect with this guy's like, bracelet buddies. Dawn's like, don't ruin it. Dawn tells his daughter, funny. That was okay. I thought the bracelet buddies thing was funny. Dawn tells his daughter, what would really make this all perfect is if, you would talk to Ted Bozeman. If you remember from before, he's the finance guy, has a job lined up for her. And he asked, can you do it as a favor for someone who just got a staple gun in the head? And she agrees, but under the promise that, he stops bugging her about it. And he's obviously happy he got his way. So he kind of gleefully walks off singing, it's beginning to look a lot like Christmas. She assures Matt, like, don't worry, it's just a meeting. Like, I'm just doing it to get my dad off my back and not to worry. And walks off. And that's when Todd and Joy, the in-laws, show back up. And like, oh, you very much need to worry about this because Don always gets his way. The Quinn way. While they're saying that, you get this little cut where you see Dawn and Nancy, the nurse, kind of exchanging looks from across the room. Just kind of to reassure you that these two definitely like each other. And like that this is going to come into play. I don't know how long they're going to prolong it, but obviously these two are going to get together.
They're going to bump nasties.
Okay. Yeah, sure.
Well, unless he finds out that she's an atheist, I'd love that plot twist.
That's, yeah.
Like, actually, I'm an atheist and I'm Jewish. And he's like, why I oughta. Just leaves the whole place.
Because of the two of them, it's setting up Matt telling the other two in-laws, if there was a way that we could get Dawn to loosen up a little bit, that'd be great for everybody. The Quinns and the Quinlaws. And, Todd's like, oh, that's good. He's good. So, cause I think he referred to them as like the outlaw in-laws before. So, the Quinlaws,
a little
wordy. Is a little bit better. Yeah. And now it cuts over to Dawn on the phone who's saying, he picks up the phone and he's doing the I'm on a phone call TV thing. It's like, he leaves a voicemail. He's like, hey, Ted, Emily's agreed to meet with you. Now all you have to do is just make her a job offer that she can't refuse, and you will have paid me back for not arresting you for being drunk and disorderly and attempting to intoxicate a police horse. Yeah, that was a heck of a Thanksgiving night you had there, Ted. And afar, you see Matt kind of looking over at Dawn and kind of raising his glass to him, and Dawn raises one back. So as this concludes, now we're seeing that the master plan is still in play for Dawn to get Emily back home. I don't know if it's really a slight on Matt necessarily, but he wants his daughter back. And I don't know if the promise of Matt coming back was part of the deal, he wouldn't hate him so much. But I really get the vibe that ultimately he just wants his daughter home.
I don't get the feeling that he would be mad at Matt for being there. I think he'd be fine with Matt if Matt was a Philly guy now.
Yeah, but he looks at Matt as the one taking his daughter away from him.
Keeping her in Los Angeles, yeah.
I don't know. It's a weird plot point there. That's a weird, dark plot point.
I think it's one of the more normal, things that make sense to me out of everything that happens here. It's like, he wants his daughter home. So he's trying to
blackmail someone? Blackmail a CEO to give someone a job?
I mean, a favor for a favor.
Blackmailing, also police corruption.
Right? Like, this is all very dark, and it's to get the daughter to come back home. Like, so you didn't arrest him at Thanksgiving over a month ago with this plan in your head. Like, come on.
He was also endangering an animal. So, drug and disorderly, trying to fuck with a horse. He doesn't arrest him so that he can blackmail him later to try to convince his daughter to move home. That's a little dark. He's going to get kicked off the force, and it's going to be amazing.
He definitely didn't seem like the type of cop that would do anything like this, but I guess, look, so it took me off a little bit seeing how that character's been developed the whole episode. But yeah, Gordo, until you mentioned that it was a month before, I guess I never put in perspective that Thanksgiving just happened. So I was thinking it was a different Thanksgiving, maybe it could have been years in the past he's been holding on to this favor. But now that you say it, and I'm thinking maybe when this guy did get in trouble, immediately the light bulb hit. And the only reason he didn't arrest him in the moment was knowing that he might be able to leverage this to get his daughter back. I guess I didn't really pick up on that at the time.
It's just a weird character turn. It's almost like he flipped a switch and then became a different character and then fit back in.
He's a family guy. That's his daughter. It's his baby girl. It's right up to par with how he's been. It's just sketchy, but it's up to par with the character so far.
The tactics aren't
breaking
wholesome.
The law, though.
Yeah,
breaking the law seems outside of his character.
That's the one thing that surprised me. But everything else, because he's so family first, I get it because it's all about the Quinn way. That's family before everything else. So that's all. His only goal is to get his daughter back at this point. Yeah, guys, that's the whole episode. I don't really know if there's much else to say about it. So, I think we need to move right along. We've gone on for quite a bit talking about this. So we'll do the green light or cancel. Ferg, I'm going to start with you.
Green light. I like the show.
I knew you were teasing it the whole time.
A lot. I really do think it's satirical. I know I'm alone.
It's definitely not.
I think you're wrong, but that's just me. I think it's playing off all the other Hallmark stuff and all the other sitcoms. It's just the fact that the in-laws are normal and the family is so weird. It's is what tells me that it's a parody. You know what I mean? I'm not sure how to explain it, but it gave me enough laughs where like the falling off the roof, a couple jokes. There was a lot that bothered me. It's not the best writing, but I see the skeleton of a good show. Also, that Christmas light scene moved me. And green light.
All right, guys. Well, that's 1 out of 4. So sorry to Merry Happy whatever, but no, guys. You know, it's funny. I made the graphic ahead of time because I just assumed everyone was going to say no, but I'll redo it later.
Fuck you,
Gordo. Your call. Green light or cancel.
This was not a good show at all by any stretch of the imagination. There is a part of me that has a morbid curiosity to see what happens in the second episode, but not enough for me to greenlight it. If we're just basing it off of this one episode alone, yeah, no, it's not good. Nothing about this show was good. I can kind of see where Ferg is going with that, and this light scene did hit me a little hard too. Like, it gave me almost a little tear. So, cancel.
Just to interject real quick, I thought the light scene was very projected. There was like a little moment where I didn't touch on it earlier where they go, well, I guess the tree lighting's canceled, and like two of them looked at each other, so you knew it was coming, so.
Hit it.
I didn't even catch that.
Yeah, but yeah, all right, moving forward. Joe.
So just to play devil's advocate a little bit on Ferg's part here. So if it was a satire, then I can see where you would enjoy it, right? But if it's a satire, it's still a satire that is too long, has way too many cast members, gets you confused by who everybody is the whole time. So even on that, I can't pass it. It's just there's too much going on. The gay panic stuff was really, really weird. And then again, the turn where he's like this, you know, law-abiding, what have you, and then he's blackmailing somebody for his daughter. Like, the whole thing is just so weird. I also think it's a missed opportunity that didn't call the episode Quinn and Juice, which should have been the title of the show. But I just can't abide by this. I love Christmas. I love Dennis Quaid. I love sitcoms. I can't, in good conscience, pass this one. No green light for me.
Nick.
So yeah, this is one of those shows where, as you talk about it, you realize it wasn't necessarily as bad as you thought it was initially. I agree with Ferg in a sense that there is a skeleton there. I do think that there could be promise with this show if you made a bunch of changes, obviously, but like if you kept the skeleton and worked around that, there's a chance for potential, basically. But as it stands right now, no. It's kind of insulting to, if you're a fan of sitcoms, it's like insulting to watch shows like this because they go for cheap pops without any real like reason to get one. It's poorly written. The acting is, like we talked about, Dennis Quaid, like, forgot how to act. I don't know. He phoned it in. He probably was like, this is fucking silly. I'm not going to give this my A game. And that's what it is. It's just silly. It's dumb. I don't think it's satire. If it is satire, then they did a great job, but I really don't think it is. And it's a cancel. I don't want to see any more of it. It doesn't entice me in any way. And for that reason, it's a cancel.
Yeah, so I'm with the rest of you guys. So as far as the satire thing goes, it's too in line with other Netflix originals. So I can't believe that it's satire because that's just how they format their shows. That's like the style, the level of comedy. That's just what they do. Like I said before, if there was like a wink to camera, a little fourth wall break here and there, I might buy into it. But I just think it's a really over the top, goofy, bad show. I think they should have gone away from the idea of it being just a Christmas based thing by name, like we talked about as well. Maybe if it was just about the Quinns or whatever, and then they could have moved on from the Christmas thing season to season or branched out, but you're pigeonholing yourself way too tight, making it a whole sitcom just about Christmas. That being said, even if they could work it out, just too many holes. I don't like the characters enough. It was just way too corny for me. Like I said, my favorite part of the show was the guy who left in 10 seconds. So I started IMDbing other things that he did just to see, like, what can I see this guy in? So yeah, it didn't do it for me. Cancel for me. So guys, it's a 1 out of 5. So sorry to Merry Happy, whatever. You do not get greenlit from us. Much like Netflix decided that they made a terrible, terrible mistake after the first season came out. So that's it. That's all the time you guys have. And that's all the time we have. So I want to remind you guys one more time, go to S1E1pod.com. That's where you can find all the links to where you can find us on social media, everywhere where you can listen to us. Share, rate, review, subscribe, do all that stuff. It helps us out a ton. So please, I can't stress that enough. Please go ahead, leave reviews, leave ratings, and hit us up on social media. We'll get back to you. We're always listening to your ideas, suggestions, shows you want to hear us do. We're trying to line some of those up in the future for you, but we always talk back. So hit us up, and we'll get back to you. It's very heartwarming every time you guys reach out to us. So keep that up. But yeah, that's it. We watched this so you didn't have to, but if you are interested, go on Netflix, and Merry Happy Whatever is there in its entirety. If you want to watch that season, only one season, so it's a fairly quick watch if you need something to watch this Christmas season. But yeah, guys, that's it. We'll catch you again next week with a new episode. So thank you. Goodbye.
I think we got the best Coke and alcohol. And Great Balls of Fire.
That's my wife.